So for a while now, there have been a lot of talks around how Sony could maybe respond to what Microsoft is doing right now with Xbox Game Pass, specifically a subscription service that offers quite a bit of value when it comes to even first-party big titles just being dropped into Game Pass day one. Forza Horizon 5, sure, but we have like Starfield coming up, all the Bethesda games, everything there. Well, it looks like Sony did something here that does kind of start to wade into the Game Pass day one territory, and we're going to go over that here today, guys. If you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawnwave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So let's head over here. This was pushsquare.com saying Sony goes Game Pass by putting Shadow Warrior 3 on PlayStation Now at launch. Shadow Warrior 3 is out March 1st. It leaked through the Xbox store originally with that release date, and it was kind of getting a bit crowded around that time. I mean, we're talking about Horizon right now, and then Gran Turismo is coming up, of course, Triangle Strategy, and then you get into March, and you have some other bigger titles. Obviously, Elden Ring is out this Friday, so yeah, Shadow Warrior 3, while Shadow Warrior 2 is a lot of fun, and I recommend people checking it out. It's actually on Game Pass. This appeared like a game that might get forgotten about, and maybe people will revisit later on. So, hey, I mean, if Sony shows up and says, hey, we'll give you a check to get this game on the PlayStation Now, if I'm Devolver, yeah, I'm taking that. No questions asked. But see, it says announced via a new PlayStation blog post, publisher Devolver Digital has revealed that the FPS is releasing on PlayStation Now the very same day as its regular digital PS Store launch. In other words, if you have a PlayStation Now subscription, you don't need to pay any extra to play Shadow Warrior 3 on day one. And yes, that does mimic the idea of Game Pass, where we have seen third-party titles just get dropped in immediately. Now, obviously, Microsoft cuts a check to the publisher, and then it goes in the Game Pass, but that appears to be something that Sony has done here with Devolver Digital. And the interesting thing about this is I believe this is the first time we've seen Sony do this. Remember, Grand Theft Auto 3 went into PlayStation Now at the end of last year, like a month after the trilogy released. I don't know if it was just cheaper to do it that way, or that's just how Rockstar and Take-Two wanted to set it up. But this is like Sony seemingly pushing towards kind of that Game Pass idea with day one releases without having to necessarily include their larger titles like Horizon or a God of War. Games that cost a lot of money to make, whereas here they can cut a check for a couple $1 million, I'm sure, for Shadow Warrior 3 and be able to say, hey, look, we also get day one releases into PlayStation Now, and this is potentially a strategy they could continue to employ when Project Spartacus comes out. And it does make it a bit more believable because PlayStation Now has been so quiet and seemingly uninteresting to Sony, and all of a sudden, hey, look, Shadow Warrior 3 is going in day one kind of out of nowhere. I mean, at this point, we're just waiting for Sony to drop a PlayStation blog post about how they're revamping everything with PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus and introduce new pricing tiers and I guess a back catalog of retro games and, yeah, maybe third-party titles, which, I mean, I'm all for the idea of subscription services like this as long as we can still buy the games, whether it's physically or digitally, because there are probably people who would never try out Shadow Warrior 3, but then it drops into PlayStation Now and you can try out the series and realize, wow, this is a lot of fun. Well, we'll see with Shadow Warrior 3, but the first one was good, the second one was a blast, so I feel like the third one should be at least fun and certainly worth a download. Now, the other good thing about subscription services like these having these games dropped in is it does work to fill in gaps, and it's done that very well for Microsoft because there's a little while there where they didn't have anything really coming out, but then they would go out and grab an Outriders or get MLB The Show dropped into Game Pass, and I kind of think that's something that Microsoft's going to have to do here for at least what appears to be the first 2 quarters of this year, because they don't really have a lot coming out until almost the end of this year from their first-party studios. Of course, they could have an event at any time and just start to at least set up this year. And really, Shadow Warrior 3 for Sony isn't needed to fill in any gaps because we just had Horizon come out, and then we got Gran Turismo, and then later on in the month, there's Ghostwire, and then obviously third-party stuff for across the board like Elden Ring and stuff. There's a lot of games coming out, basically, right now. So I kind of think this is a way for Sony to almost test the waters without spending too much money. Like, if they actually put Shadow Warrior 3 on PlayStation Now immediately, will people sign up for PlayStation Now to check out the game? I mean, it's possible. When you look at the value of that rather than buy Shadow Warrior 3 and then you also get all the stuff with PlayStation Now, yeah, that could happen. The thing I'm curious about this, though, is I think there's only PS4 games on PlayStation Now. So will there be an option for an upgrade to the PS5 version of Shadow Warrior 3, or at least get the optimizations? Because it does appear that the Xbox Series systems will have optimization set up for it, or we just get some sort of higher frame rate, for example, through backwards compatibility on the PS5. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But certainly an interesting update here and something to watch as we head towards this expected reveal for their big new subscription service where they consolidate PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and we'll see what they call that and what they have to offer, which maybe is setting up to have even big third-party titles. I mean, Sony has a lot of connections. You can see some Square Enix stuff get thrown in there, for example, and others. So I think something definitely to follow here. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. Sony all of a sudden waking up and remembering, oh yeah, we do have PlayStation Now. Let's go ahead and drop a third-party game like Shadow Warrior 3 in their day and date and see what happens. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.